Assalamu alaikum. I hope you're doing well. So in this video, I want to discuss about the documents that you should carry, you must carry, and also I'll cover some documents that you should carry if you're driving two-wheelers. Okay. So there are people who get confused because when they listen to these terms like registration certificate, PUC, insurance, driving license. So all of this, they try to get confused. Okay, what documents they actually have to carry, and they get confused. And knowledge is power, and the cops out there, they're hunting for people who do not understand the law, who understand what's the to carry, and they just act like a victim, and they have to pay a lot of money to the cops in order to drive two-wheelers vehicles within India. So I've seen a lot of people, they get confused with the type of document they need to carry. So today I will try to demystify all of the documents so that you can feel confidence about when you drive your two-wheel vehicle on the India route. You feel confident about what documents to carry and what things to keep in mind. So let's begin. So the first thing is the first document or the card that you should have if you're driving a two-wheeler is you should have a driving license. If you're not having a driving license, if you're driving two vehicles or any vehicles, for instance, that will land you in hefty fines. So just be aware of that. So driving license basically it gives you a permission that you are eligible to drive this vehicle, and that you are capable of driving this. Okay. So now driving license can be of depending on the vehicle. Some are like for two-wheelers. There are specific driving license that is issued for driving two vehicles. Then there are driving license issued for driving four-wheelers like cars. And so driving license of various categories depending on which vehicles that you are trying to drive. So I'll just in this video I'll just focus on mostly on the two-wheelers, basically like bikes or scooty. So that is what we're going to discuss in this video. So, so remember this, the number one thing document that you should keep in mind, you should always carry is your driving license. Now, this driving license is basically valid till 20 years or 50 years of age, whichever is less, I believe. So I'll also highlight you the document that you have to renew every time on a particular interval, because if you don't renew this document, then also if it can land you in some good fines. If the cops use you and they ask for your documents and some of the documents are already past the validity, then that will also be a reason for you to get fines. And also just keep in mind, so for driving license, it is for 20 years, so you don't have to worry, it's long periods of time. And once you reach 20 years, you can renew it for another 15 years or maybe and so. So you can check, but remember the driving license validity is quite huge, like it's 15 years, 20 years, or up to the age of 50, whichever is less. That's what I've read, that's from my information, but you can always double check with your state regulations, which state that you're following in. So that is something number one, that is the driving license. Okay, now let's talk about the other important mandatory documents, which is your registration certificate or registration card. So this registration certificate is basically mentioned that this particular vehicles of the model, engine, and all the numbers that uniquely identify that specific vehicle. That I also mentioned the owner information that you are the owner of that particular vehicle. So registration certificate is also an important document that you should carry every time when you're driving two-wheelers. So this registration certificate, I believe, is valid till 15 years. And that is the average lifespan of driving a two-wheelers. And then after that, you can renew it for another 5 years and so. So yeah, that is the registration certificate. So basically, it contains all the details of the specifics of that particular two vehicles, and also it contains the details of the owners, so that it basically correlate with that particular specific vehicles belong to this individual. All right, so now that we have discussed registration certificate, let's talk about the next is important document is insurance. So specifically, I'm talking about the third-party insurance, which is very, very mandatory, third-party insurance. So what is the use of the third-party insurance? So basically, let's try to understand this with a scenario. So let's say you are driving your two-wheelers, and by mistake or by accident, you go and hit another vehicle. So the owner of that another vehicle, they might raise a case against you that you damaged their vehicles. So in that case, in order to solve that kind of dispute, what happens is when you have a third-party insurance, the insurance company will facilitate and resolve the solution by paying the money in resolving whatever damage that has been caused by your vehicles to that individual, by paying him some money and resolving the issues that was caused by your vehicle. So that is still basically the idea behind having a third-party insurance, which is mandatory within this country. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, this insurance, I believe it is first time if you're buying a new vehicle, probably it will be for, depends, it can be for 1 year, for 3 years, for 5 years, and thereafter you have to renew it every year. So it depends, you need to check like for your vehicles, what is the validity, how long is this third-party insurance valid for. So that is something you need to check in your documents. Usually, I believe for newer vehicles, if you're purchasing from a showroom, usually they give 3 years or 5 years. It could be 1 year as well. So that is something you need to confirm for your vehicles. But it is something that is done every 1 year. By default, that is most cases I've seen people, they renew it every year. So this is something you have to keep in mind. Make sure that when your when your insurance is going to be invalid, when it's going to expire, just make sure that you are renewing it before that, because if you're not doing renewing it before its expiry date, what happens is that can also lead you to some fines by some cops who might raise a concern there. So that is the third mandatory documents. The fourth mandatory document that is also very, very important, which many of the people, they just don't give importance to, but the fines are really, really huge for this. And the fourth document I'm talking about is the PUC, which is basically stand for Pollution Under Control. Now, Pollution Under Control is a certificate which basically says, certifies that your vehicle is emitting radiation or gases which is within the control of that particular country, whichever the parameter they have considered it for. So this is also something is also renewable. You have to do it I believe it's done for 6 months or maximum a year. So that's something you can confirm. And so there are certain agencies where you take your two-wheelers there and they do some kind of testing, and then they provide you a certificate to certify that your vehicle is compliant and it is under PUC control. So that certificate is very important because sometimes when you're traveling, a cops might ask you for these documents, and if you do not give them, then there are really, really huge fines. So that was PUC. So these are the documents. I believe these 4 documents are very, very important if you are driving on Indian roads. Now, some questions might arise like, how do you carry all these documents with you? There are chances that it might get lost. But now that we have a solution here, we have a lot of apps like M-Parivan and BG-Lock. These are the apps where you can store your documents there, and they are basically authorized. So if you can show them to the police, and they will basically accept it. It is acceptable by the Indian government as per the law. So you can use BG-Lock or M-Parivan app to show the documents that you have. So you don't literally have to carry these documents physically with you. So this is also acceptable way, and the police have to accept it. So that's also a problem. So I believe these are the 4 documents. There is another document. I'm forgetting its name, but it is also very important. Usually for older vehicles who have crossed its timeline, like 15 years is the timeline for one particular vehicles. So if it's crossed 15 years, there is another fitness certificate for a vehicle to show that the vehicle is quite okay to drive. That is also a certificate that is issued. It's very rare, but it's a law as per the law. This is there, so that's something to keep in mind if you are driving any vehicles which has crossed more than 15 years of age. So then definitely you should make sure that you also have a fitness certificate for that particular vehicle, because some cops might ask if they notice that this vehicle is very old, and if you're not able to provide, them, they might charge you some money. So that is something to keep in mind. The other is the optional. If you can carry your service documents, and then of course you have to carry some kind of valid ID proof, maybe Aadhaar card, to identify your identity. So these are the documents basically briefly I covered that is required for you to carry. You not necessarily have to carry them physically. Like I said, you can use the app of M-Parivan or BG-Lock to keep this document, and you can show them on your mobile, and that should be acceptable. So these are the documents that basically you have to carry if you're driving in form of 2 vehicles within India. So I hope you like this video, and I'll see you guys in another video. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.